Yes people, welcome to part 3 of the Range Rover SVR project. I recently purchased this from Copart for only £16,000. That makes this the most cheapest one in the UK. Like for like models currently retail at around 35k, which makes this one an absolute bargain. If you come around to the front, you can see we've already pulled out the engine, the V8 5-litre supercharged motor, which we're currently stripping down in the engine build area. From previous episodes, we figured out that the engine had some sort of timing problem. The timing jumped and the pistons and the valves collided and the piston snapped in half. Oh my days, yo, look. No, that's fine. Look at that. No way!
Oh no!
That is not looking good. Which also meant the block got damaged. We also said in the last video that we're gonna get a new replacement engine for this car. However, since then I thought that's a bit boring. That's not really content. If I get an engine now and push one in and start the car up, that's the end of this project. And that's not complicated. We like complicated stuff that boosts performance. That's what we're about. So, for that reason, what we're gonna do today is continue to strip the SVR engine down. We're going to assess the crankshaft if it's salvageable, the pistons and the rods if they are. We're going to get a new block and assemble it back together. So here's the engine that we just stripped out. The heads have been removed, but we still got to get to the bottom end to assess the crankshaft and of course the con rods to see what other parts we need before we just go get another block. So this is the situation right here. Got better lighting now, but yeah, the piston basically blew up, finished, and the remains are somewhere on the ground, on the floor. Here we go. That's the remains. So we definitely need a piston, we need a con rod for sure. Now we just need to get to the bottom end and see if we need a crankshaft or not as well. Another thing we need is a cylinder head. So let me just show you guys that as well. So here's the cylinder head. That's how a normal cylinder head looks like, right? Have a good look. And compared to that, absolutely smashed. That is what happens when the timing chain jumps and the pistons and the valves collide with each other. So what to do now? We now need to spin the engine over to the bottom end and remove the crankshaft caps, the crankshaft itself, the pistons, the rods, and you're gonna check the situation on those and then can decide exactly what parts we need. So that there is the unfortunate fate of this SVR. Bought as a non-runner from Copart, hoping to have some simple issues like the timing chain or something simple like that. But it turns out we need to do a full strip down and rebuild. But yeah, that's what you get when you buy a non-runner. As I say, don't try this at home, because if you did, you'd be deep down 15 grand bare minimum. Obviously I own Boost Performance, this is my workshop, so it's all good, man. We work with what we have and we crack on with it. Getting things like the block, pistons and whatnot is going to be expensive. I'll give you guys a full breakdown once we get there. This is the engine sump. Got a number of bolts in it. Let's remove these bolts. It's going to expose the bottom end. Excuse the mess. This is what happens when you strip down the engine, a V8 engine especially. So now we've got yet another problem. So as you know, the engine is seized, and that's for obvious reasons. Engine is seized because that con rod has gone literally into that corner and it's now holding up the whole crankshaft. So we're just taking the bolts off for the sump. However, the sump has a seal which is attached right behind this. Now we can't take this off because this has 1, 2, 3 screws, right? And how do you open these screws? If you look this way, 1 screw there, yep. But then we have to turn the engine to access the other 2. Now we can't do that. We need to access the crankshaft. How are we gonna get in there? Sump's not opening. You know where this is going, right? We have to smash this block. That's right. We have to get a hammer and smash our way through this block to get access to what's seized. And then I guess you guys will see how badly it's damaged internally as well. And that's probably the reason why we can't use this block at all. Let's grab a hammer and let's start smashing. So we've got a crowbar and a hammer.
It's the stuff, man.
Damn.
Me sideways.
At this point, we were just stuck. We didn't know how we're going to access this block. This block is scrap anyway, so smashing at it doesn't really matter. As long as we can preserve the crankshaft and the pistons and the rest of the rods for for the ones that survived. So that's one bolt. By the way, smashing it didn't work. Not at all. So we're trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. So that's one bolt removed from the torque converter. We've got 2 more to worry about before we can access the seal to release the sump. So because we removed one bolt, what we're going to do is put a pry bar on the teeth over here and then put some force on it. Hopefully that gives the block a little push to do what we got to do. Let's go, let's try this. It's moving, it's moving. Go on, there you go, that's it. That's it, we've done it. Block is now moving, look, all the pistons are now moving. Engine is no longer seized. However, for those of you guys new to engine rebuilds, that doesn't mean a good thing. It means a good thing in terms of stripping the engine down. This block is still scrap. We have no use of the block. It means we can now remove the torque converter, the flywheel, open the sump and get to the crankshaft and then assess the damage. Alright guys, so we have now removed all the bolts. Let's get this torque converter off finally. That was supposed to come off a long time ago. There you have it. That's the flywheel right there. You go about 10 to 12 bolts on that. We removed that. We removed the seal. That's the rear crank seal. And we removed the sump, finally. There you go guys. This was stuck, remember? Managed to release it. This block has been through hell. So this is the crankshaft seal we were referring to. As you can see, it's attached to the sump and the block. Hence the reason why we couldn't just remove the sump. I had to go through all this drama just to get the engine moving again. Off comes the crankshaft seal, exposing the internal of the engine. Look at this. Scrap metal coming out of an engine. That's crazy, man. More metal pieces. Oh my days, do you see that? Look at this, yeah? Piston pieces. Find a valve here. Look at this. This is an engine valve in the sump. This was a sudden failure because engine went bang and all of this happened in a second. Because that's the reason why on the oil filter we saw no cuttings whatsoever. Look, wherever you look, you got metal pieces everywhere. This is part of the piston. Like I said, the piston and the valves, they hit each other. Look, this valve snapped in half. These are valves, by the way. There's the valve, look, it's missing from there. That's the cylinder head. Madness. Bottom end of the engine. Crankshaft, conrods, main caps. We're now going to remove the main caps, which hold the crankshaft down into place, and then one by one remove the conrods, and this will become a completely bare block, leaving nothing behind but the spare engine block, which is going to be going to the scrapyard. Long day, man. Yeah, that's what I expected to see. The caps looks okay, and it probably will be fine because we had no oil starvation on this car whatsoever. It's quite common to see Range Rovers with oil starvation issues, like knocking bottom ends and whatnot. But like I said, the oil filter was totally clean. So this was purely done to timing chain failure, causing all of these problems. So we are now manually turning the engine to get access to the crankshaft, sorry, the conrod bolts, allowing us to remove it completely. Here's what you call an engine bearing. Again, no damage, clean. So we just pulled out the conrod, and yeah, it's supposed to have a piston here, and it's missing because it's smashed up to pieces all over the engine. Looks like the conrod survived. Conrod looks fine.
No, I wouldn't use that. You're crazy.
I wouldn't use it either, but I'm saying it looks fine. Definitely wouldn't use it. Join the scrap. By the way, if you're wondering why wouldn't you use this conrod again, even though it looks perfectly fine? Remember, it's had a hard impact. Now if it looks straight, you can see it's twisted, it's not straight. And that's exactly why. So you should never ever use parts that have been hit or damaged. Not sure if you can tell, but yeah, that's bad. So that's all the conrods and pistons out. The only thing we need to remove now are the main bearing caps, and then the crank will be free to get removed. Yep, so it happens. There you have it. All the main caps now removed, which allows us to remove the crankshaft off the engine. So, as we assumed, this crankshaft is clean, no damage on it whatsoever, and can be reused for the rebuild. Luckily, that's what I was hoping for. And now that the crank is removed, we can have a closer look at the block. So where is it? All right, so you got 8 bores because it's a V8, 8 cylinders. Yep, these are all the bores. Have a look at the bore where it got smashed. That's right. There's even further damage. Look at that. Finish. Absolutely finished. Who knows what this is? This is oil jets to cool the pistons down. And as you can see, that's where they sit. And over here, it's been completely wiped out. I would love to see someone capable of reusing this block, because for us, it's a no-go. Some guys will say, let me weld it for you, put it back together. So you guys are probably thinking, what's the next steps? So of course, we got the crank over here and it's in good nick, but we don't know for sure if it's dead straight, and it needs to be for a rebuild. So we're gonna send the crank off to the machine shop. Of course, we need a new block, which we already have now over there, and 1 cylinder head. So a bit of a puzzle to put pieces together here and there. 1 piston, 1 conrod. So what I'm going to do is get all these pieces together one by one, put it in one place in the next video, and then start assembling everything one by one. We can then start the SVR up, hopefully for the first time. That's going to be the most exciting part. Firing this beast. 5 litre V8 supercharged engine about to get fired up. Stay tuned guys, see you in the next video.